We're told from childhood that if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Yet getting rich quick remains one of the most tempting ideas on the planet. I learned that lesson the hard way. It started on what should have been a simple holiday with close friends. I had a small cushion of savings, nothing extravagant, but enough to feel secure. By the end of that trip, most of it was gone. Reckless decisions, an unfortunate accident with a phone, details for another time. But I returned home with little more than spare change. Around that same period, something else was slipping away. My passion for acting. It was a craft I'd pursued since childhood, built on the quiet assumption that poverty was just part of the journey until your big break arrived. Except now, that mental safety net had vanished. I actually needed money, and I had no plan. So I did what millions do. I turned to the internet and typed in phrases like, "how to make money online." That's when the gurus appeared. The Tai Lopez's, the Grant Cardones, figures I would have dismissed without a second thought at any other point in my life. But desperation has a way of lowering your defenses. I fell into a deep rabbit hole. Ideas like passive income and being your own boss were handed to me on a silver platter, and I accepted every bite without question. I started to despise the concept of a traditional job. A 9-to-5 began to look like an admission of failure. These gurus sold me a shimmering dream of getting rich quickly, dangling it in front of me like a carrot on a stick. Except the carrot was a paid online course that promised to teach me their secrets. I didn't realize it then, but I was stepping straight into the world of get-rich-quick schemes. And the strange part? I got off easy. I only received a small taste of how manipulative and sly this world can be. Here's the unsettling truth. Anyone can fall down this hole. It doesn't matter how educated you are, how self-aware you are. Catch a person at the right moment, in the right context of stress or uncertainty, and the trap can spring. I remember sitting through a pitch thinking, this isn't a pyramid, it's a triangle, as if the geometry somehow made it ethical. The manipulation pulls you out of reality. I wanted to understand why. The term snake oil salesman has existed for generations, describing a dishonest con artist peddling fake cures. But where does the phrase actually come from? There was a man named Clark Stanley who traveled across America selling rattlesnake oil at medicine shows. Huge crowds would gather as he claimed his product, supposedly based on Chinese water snake oil, could cure a staggering range of human ailments. When his oil was finally examined in 1916, it contained no actual snake oil at all. It was worthless mineral oil. From that moment, the phrase stuck in popular culture. A lone salesman drifting from town to town, selling false hope to vulnerable people. These characters have existed throughout history, wearing different masks, but their tools of influence remain remarkably consistent. I believe I was pulled in by the modern internet version of the snake oil salesman, the online guru who attaches absurd expectations to a product that cannot possibly fulfill them. The scam isn't the course itself, it's the grandiose marketing wrapped around it. And I found myself wondering again, why do we fall for this? To find an answer, I looked backward, to the infomercial era. Think of them as the 1980s answer to the traveling medicine show. Program-length commercials, 28 to 60 minutes long, airing in the dead of night between 1 and 6 in the morning. Many infomercials promoted legitimate products, often with a celebrity face, but the format also attracted a wave of questionable individuals and manipulative tactics. For the modern snake oil salesman, this was the new frontier. Motivational and wealth-building products spread rapidly. One man stood at the center, Don Lapre, self-proclaimed king of the infomercials. He claimed to have made over $50,000 a week by placing tiny classified ads in newspapers across the country, and he promised anyone could do the same. His pitch was intoxicatingly simple. It doesn't matter who you are, where you live, or how much money you have. Anyone with basic sense can follow my system. And that's where the pattern crystallizes. Lapre offered 4 essential promises. You can get rich, it can happen quickly, anyone can do it, and he possesses the secret system. He sold programs teaching people how to profit from classified ads, but the harsh reality was that most buyers never came close to the promised wealth. The process wasn't nearly as effortless as portrayed. And consider the obvious. Lapre's real wealth came from selling the programs on infomercials, not from placing classified ads. But hold on to those patterns, because get-rich-quick schemes repeat the exact same promises across decades. The problem isn't that you can't make money through real estate or classified ads. It's that the marketing creates a chasm between expectation and reality. Snake oil might have had minor benefits, but it was never a miracle cure. When I look back at the internet gurus I encountered, I see identical patterns. A business model like dropshipping, packaged and presented in a way that makes it seem effortless. You're shown a vision of making an extra $1,000 a month for doing almost nothing, even if you're completely average. Then standard marketing techniques are layered on top to deepen the influence. Social proof is a classic example. Ordinary citizens or authority figures presenting testimonials about how the program changed their lives. The programs often weave in a personal backstory, a rags-to-riches arc designed to mirror the struggles of the target audience. In my case, I was desperate for money. I wanted to make my parents proud. I had absorbed the idea that a 9-to-5 meant failure. My vulnerability was the hook, and all the while, I believed I was the clever one, that I had taken the red pill while others couldn't see what the gurus were really offering. But infomercials and online gurus only scratch the surface. The world of get-rich-quick schemes gets considerably darker. Let's move to a more unsettling chapter. Between 2012 and 2014, an energy drink began circulating across American college campuses. On the surface, Verve was marketed as a healthy alternative, but it was merely a front for something far more predatory. Verve was created by a company called Vemma, a multi-level marketing operation that used distributors to sell products. As a distributor, you earned a cut from your sales. More importantly, you could recruit other distributors and take a commission from everything they sold. Blink and you'll miss what's really happening. Vemma wasn't focused on selling energy drinks. The true obsession was recruitment. Students were contacted by friends about a life-changing business opportunity, then led into rooms where they were pitched a dream. Age didn't matter. Experience didn't matter. You were told you could earn unlimited wealth. Vemma deliberately targeted high schools and universities, places filled with young, uncertain people trying to figure out their future. One former student put it bluntly. They called it a replenishing market. Vemma was a classic pyramid scheme. Distributors were told the real money lay in recruiting others, who would then do the same. If one person recruits 5, and those 5 each recruit 5 more, you exhaust the entire global population after just 14 levels. In this structure, only those at the very top profit. The vast majority lose everything. By the time you hear about the opportunity, you're already too late. Almost 90% of Vemma recruits earned less than $4,000 a year, and that figure doesn't include what they spent buying the product itself. Young people were losing money, dropping out of college, isolating themselves from family, and reshaping their entire online identity to promote the company. A cult-like component kept people trapped. When you're surrounded by a circle repeating the same mantras, it becomes an echo chamber. MLM companies like Vemma are still everywhere, and they follow a predictable pattern. An over-reliance on recruitment, wildly exaggerated promises, and the deliberate construction of a tight-knit community. If all your friends believe in the scheme, leaving carries social consequences. Your world shrinks to the boundaries of the scheme. For those on the outside, the fear of missing out can be enough to pull you in. A major reason I fell under the influence of get-rich-quick gurus is that I completely submerged myself in their community. I read the books they recommended. Their content consumed my feed. Most critically, I lacked the willingness to critically assess what I was being sold, until I started noticing the recurring patterns in the pitch, the marketing, and the actual results around me. When I finally understood what I had fallen into, I felt a surge of anger and shame. Two mechanisms typically keep you inside the scheme. The first is self-blame. When the promised results don't arrive, you're told you didn't work hard enough, you did something wrong, and you begin to lose confidence in your own judgment. Vemma often invoked the pseudo-scientific belief of the law of attraction, making recruits feel that failure was purely a reflection of their own mindset, conveniently ignoring that the system was designed for them to fail. The second mechanism is the insulated community itself, a group specifically instructed to reject outside criticism and distance themselves from non-believers. When a community actively cuts you off from external opinions, it's a massive red flag. Cults use the same technique, controlling the flow of information so that any outside voice is discredited as a hater or a dream stealer. But here, we hit a complication. Many of these elements exist in legitimate businesses and brands. Some get-rich-quick schemes are almost comically easy to spot once you understand the rhetoric. Others are harder to distinguish. Not every person selling a course is running a scam. My personal method for separating the good from the bad starts with looking at the expectations being set. Do they appear realistic? Who is behind the company? A simple search can reveal incriminating information, poor reviews, or red flags. Does the marketing use social proof or scarcity in a disingenuous way? For example, is that live webinar actually pre-recorded? Are they claiming a limited time offer that has never actually changed? Recognizing these techniques pulls you out of an easily influenced state and reminds you that you're being sold to. But ultimately, there's one final lesson that lifted me out of this world. A lesson about responsibility. Getting rich quickly is technically possible. Someone wins the lottery. Someone builds a company that sells for a fortune. The lottery is pure luck. The latter is far from easy. If a product or service promises to make wealth easy, that's the loudest red flag of all. Looking across centuries of these schemes, seeing how every generation falls for some version of the same promise, you realize our brains are loaded with biases that can trip us up at any moment. Spotting the patterns was my first step. The final step was harder. I had to stop buying the dream and start doing something real. Anything that didn't involve sitting around fantasizing about passive income, laptop lifestyles, or the seductive myth of effortless wealth. Because that fantasy, more than anything else, was what made me so easy to influence. The brighter ending to my story is that the search eventually led me here, to this channel, to you. I learned to edit, combined skills from my acting days, and tried to build something that felt honest. So if you've stayed with me, thank you. If you want to see more, consider subscribing. I'll keep your feed as valuable as I can make it. Until next time.